Sometimes, and by sometimes I mean quite often, I have to redo the whole intro to the video because I always mess something up. Now, anyway, today I have a new idea, a new build, and of course a new tactic to show you. So up until this moment, my alt was using the starter fleet as tackle, and honestly, I am very happy with that ship. It does serve really well, and surprisingly, it is still alive. I did expect the stabber to go down, but somehow that ship is still alive. Now I have swapped the stabber into a Daredevil, a more dedicated tackle ship. The Daredevil has very nasty bonus on web speed decrease, web range, and it also has a disruptor range bonus. Now, on my alt, I still don't have the best skills for frigates, although it should get the job done. I mainly focused on the command bonus to obtain the decrease, the speed decrease, range, and disruptor range, because my alt is primarily a tackle alt, and honestly, I'm very shocked at how good this works. Now, I will show the build that I have on the Daredevil. This Daredevil doesn't have any high slots for a specific purpose, because, well, this ship is meant to be disposable, and I always try to make those disposable ships as cheap as possible, and this Daredevil is indeed very cheap. Now the power grid will be limited because of the skills. I'm working towards improving that. I have Republic Fleet Web Affairs 88.5% is the speed decrease at 20.4 kilometers. And I have 3 of the webs because in most cases the bubble will keep the ships from warping. In the low slots, my co-op drift, a extender, and we have 1 adaptive. 10,000 overall hit points, which is okay, considering the fact that this account that my alt has over here is still working on skills, and the rigs are also pretty cheap. So I'm quite satisfied with this current build, and the stats look really decent if we consider the fact that my skills on the alt are currently, let's say, not the best. However, the capacitor says stable, however it does not seem too stable to me. Very interesting description there in the fitting window. Now, my goal is to make the ship last as long as possible, and for that I had to go and change the Revelations build. Now, when you think of a dreadnought, you usually don't think about a support ship, but I had to make the Revelation somewhat of a support ship in order to help out the Daredevil, and I will show you what I did with this ship. Now, the medium slot modules have been changed. I used to have quad webs and a scrambler, but in 99.9% of cases I never used those modules, so I have decided to go and change that, and now the Revelation has a support role. The tracking disruptors and the guidance disruptor serve to cripple the tracking and missiles on the target, because I expect the target to go after the Daredevil. And I have dual remote capacitor transmitters. They are used to supply the Daredevil with capacitor in case I have to fight a Blood Raider ship, or in case the target decides to neutralize the capacitor of my ship. With the remote transmitters I can keep the Daredevil's capacitor up and running. It does charge really fast, and the Revelation has a massive capacitor. So, the other thing that I plan to do in order to further maximize the modules that I have on this ship is to use the general units. Now, I haven't really decided if I want to go with tracking disruptor units, or if I want to go with the capacitor transmitter units. The capacitor transmitters have shorter range. Now we have no capital transmitters, I believe. We'll have to check that out just to be sure, but I can increase the range by using the general units, and I think I will buy one right now, a high level one. 42 million, actually quite cheap, and it should be, yeah, I think I'll go with the level 7 unit, because only 2% difference will not make much of a difference, so I'll go and buy this one. Now I have medium ones because I didn't have any large ones at this station, so we'll have to buy them as well. And besides being useful for my alt, it can also be very useful for my friends that also like to hang around with me. So the Revelation will have a support role. The Daredevil keeps the target from moving, the Revelation keeps the Daredevil from dying, which I believe is a very interesting idea. And I will show you how that works in combat. Now you can also go and buy the Disruptor range unit. However, I'm not really sure if I need to go and buy them, because the Daredevil is very fast and the current tracking disruptors should be enough to cripple the target's tracking. Now I have only one gun disruptor because I'm not really worried about missiles. I can speed tank missiles with the Daredevil. However, the turrets might be a little bit scarier, so for turrets I have the extra tracking disruption on the ship. Now let me just double check the modules, and probably will go and buy the large capacitor transmitters. Now they have a longer range and they do supply a bit more capacitor, however the cycle time is going to be a little bit faster. I mean, the cycle time will be a little bit longer. And let me go and quickly buy this. The extra range might be very useful. If I have 15 kilometer range, then I can supply capacitor up to 20 kilometers, and then the Daredevil will not have to worry about being neutralized. Now surprisingly, this one is actually more expensive, cheaper, but it does give a better effect. I will buy both of them and we'll see what kind of results I get. Okay, so these are the remote capacitor transmitters. Now I thought to go and use a group booster, however the group boosters only boost a small amount of shield. They're mostly useful in a big fleet where multiple ships have them active. Now the Daredevil has 3,500 shield hit points, and the remote group booster, the group shield booster, does recover 373 every 20 seconds. So I don't think that it's a good idea to have that equipped. Now the current build and the current idea that I use will probably be changed. This is definitely not the final build and not the final result. This is going to be my first attempt to see how this works today, and in theory it looks nice. It should be quite interesting. However, in practical use it might be different, and well, I guess we will find that out very soon. So, am I going to be accidentally shooting at my own alt? Oh yes, that's going to be one quite hilarious part of this video. Now, as in it became a tradition to start with a Macarial, because, well, not really sure what's up with those Macarials. They are everywhere. And well, today's first target is a Macarial. So I sent my alt to go and web the Macarial. I shot at my alt, but thankfully it did not hit. The first hit did a decent amount of damage on the Macarial. The Macarial is swept and I have tracking disruptors on the ship. Now the alt will be permanently locked and have the remote capacitor boosters on the alt at all times. Basically the alt comes back to the revelation to recharge the capacitor, and then my capacitor is almost 100% at all times, which is perfect when I have to go and run towards the next target. Okay, well, the Macarial did not leave any wreck behind, and that makes me a little bit worried to actually look at the kill, but you know, an empty Macarial. Okay, I haven't seen this in a very long time. 3.3 billion Macarial. Overall, I'm not going to complain. Still a faction battleship kill. Next target we have one Vindicator. Now, some ships might be a bit more tricky to tackle. A Vindicator is one of those ships because both the Daredevil and the Vindy is a Serpentis ship. But I have the tracking disruptors, so if the Vindicator is using blasters, they are not going to be able to hit my alt because, well, they are literally in the optimal range of the disruptors and of the tracking disruptors, and that should limit the range on the blasters even more. Blasters are already known to have very, very bad range, and well, the Vindicator got destroyed. This time the ship did leave a wreck. Okay, that was a very nice catch. Let me go and loot the wreck. And let's take a look at the kill. 4.8 billion, 4.87 billion. A pretty solid kill. The Vindicator did drop a lot of stuff. I think that's about, looks like 350 to 400 million. Now the one drawback for using the Daredevil instead of the Stabber is the fact that I don't have cargo for a lot of things, so I have to go and dock quite often, which might be one annoying factor, but it's okay. It's not that bad as it might be, but it's okay. Not that bad. Next target, we have one Tempest Striker. They have been webbed. They are about the optimal range of the tracking disruptors, both of them active on the Tempest. If the Tempest decides to shoot at the alt, they should not be able to hit the alt, which makes the Daredevil orbit safely at about 18 kilometers. I would set 19 kilometers, but the inertia of the speed of the ship is throwing me out of orbit in most cases if I go full speed. That's why you will also notice that I limit the speed of the Daredevil, or I just set a closer orbit. And the Tempest has been destroyed. Okay. Hopefully the Tempest did have a good build, or loot, or both. Okay, let's not kill the alt, although I'm pretty sure that I can hit the Daredevil moving that fast. 2.1 billion. A passive PvP tank Tempest. Interesting. I really like the passive shield tanks. I used a build like that on the Macarial. Quite successful. Did have a chance to use it into combat. Okay, looks like I have to go and dock the loot with the Daredevil because, well, small cargo hold can't really hold a lot of items inside, but it's okay. Now I'm worried. Oh, a Hound 3. Well, let's not dock. Let's return to the gate. Hopefully the Hound doesn't wake up until the Daredevil lands. This is why having a larger cargo hold is sometimes a better idea. You will not miss ships that jump in while you go, and oh well, the Hound has cloaked. I was late. I had my chance, but unfortunately very bad timing. Oh, or perhaps not. Perhaps I have a chance to catch this ship. And they have jumped through the gate. Oh well, it's okay. It happens. If I had the stabber, perhaps I would catch the Hound, because I would still be on the gate. Now this Apocalypse Striker seems to have the Neon Ray nanocore, which means it might be very expensive. Now this is the previous build. This is back when I was using the alt in the stabber. Thought that this would be a very nice target. After all, it is one Apocalypse Striker and they can be quite expensive. Now one thing that you should keep in mind if you plan to replicate a build like this, make sure not to kill your alt or your friend that is going to be the tackle alt, because I shot at my alt literally hundreds of times and I'm surprised that I did not kill that Daredevil. This was a very decent Apocalypse Striker, by the way. Next we have one Astero. Astero seems to be burning away. Okay. Oh no, Astero trying to leave the bubble. Let's not allow that to happen. And of course, I shoot at my alt. That's what happens. That's what happens. Would be hilarious if I popped my alt instead of the Astero. I would not be mad. I would be laughing. And the Astero got yeeted. Now the beauty of the Serpentis webs is the fact that even a dreadnought with horrible tracking is going to hit a small frigate, and this is why one of the main reasons why I went and did the change into the Daredevil. Originally I thought to go and get the Vigilant, however you can already guess what would happen if I did get the Vigilant. It would be a very dead Vigilant by now for sure, because I would probably kill it by accident. 1.3 billion Astero kill, did drop some very decent stuff, not going to complain. Next target we have one Prophecy. You might be wondering, why is this Prophecy so early on in the list? Because I usually like to put the best kills in the first half of the video. Well, there is a reason for that, because this Prophecy was actually a pretty solid catch. 1.7 billion, almost 1.8 billion Prophecy. Now you might be wondering, why is this Prophecy so expensive? Oh, tier 4 rigs, that explains it. That explains why this thing was so expensive. And rig integrations and Imperial Navy drones. And of course somehow this Prophecy still lacked modules. Very weird indeed. Next we have one Cinnabal. Now with the stabber, when I web a Cinnabal, sometimes it misses, sometimes it doesn't. However, with the Daredevil, I should nail this Cinnabal, and that's exactly what happened. Just have to make sure that I don't set my own alt on fire, and everything should be under control. I guess it's a good practice to practice patience, to practice, I guess, the the logistic part of the game. However, I would say a very unique feeling to use a revelation as a DPS and support. I think it's a very smart idea to do something like this. I like it, I enjoy it so far. Definitely one of the most unique things that I've done. Now we have a Gila. This Gila is using a micro warp drive they're trying to burn away. Now, even webbed, the Gila will be the speed of the ship will be drastically reduced, and the signature radius from the micro warp drive makes the Gila easier to hit. Now the Gila is after the Daredevil, of course, but the drones and the guidance disruptor. The drones were too slow, and my guidance disruptor did make the missiles perform poorly, so the Daredevil did not receive a single scratch. Well, so far this little idea, this build works. This build works. 1.3 billion, also pretty good Gila. Was a pretty good Cinnabal, also a pretty good Gila. We have some very nice targets today. Next we have one Apocalypse. Now turret ships are scary, that's why I have the extra disruptors. However, okay, this time I did not launch my lasers on the Daredevil. The Apocalypse is at 40 kilometers, which is about the optimal range for the disruptors, orbiting outside of web range. The only thing that might mess up the day of the Daredevil is a neutralizer, but by the time they do lock on, they are already destroyed. So far, highly effective. Okay, which wreck is it? There's so many wrecks, I have to pick the right one. I honestly enjoy the Daredevil. I really like the ship. It's a very fun ship, honestly. 888 million. Another passive tank Apocalypse. Not really sure if that is a PvP or a mission build. I believe it looked like a fleet build. Not really sure. And in the classic fashion that we have seen today, I have no carrier hold, so let me go and dock the loot. Docking the loot and running back to the gate. Unfortunately, we can't drop faction items, or else, if we could, I would actually open a container near the revelation where I would deposit all the loot, and then I would simply collect the loot with the revelation. Now this Dramiel decided to go and tackle the Daredevil. That was a bad idea, by the way, because, well, now the tracking disruptors from the revelation and the webs from the Daredevil made this Dramiel basically dead on the gate. I did take some damage, but nothing serious. Did web the Dramiel on time, and also almost killed my alt there. Let's orbit the big boat, and let's recover the capacitor. That was a very nice kill. Not really sure what that Dramiel tried to do. I guess it's really not common to see a revelation with tracking disruptors. It's a very, I would say, unique idea. So basically the turrets of the Dramiel were useless at 19 kilometers, and well, the Dramiel wasn't going anywhere, triple webbed from the Daredevil. Next target, we have a Daredevil. Well, hopefully it's not my Daredevil. Have to make sure not to light myself on fire. Okay. The same idea applies to a Daredevil. Once the tracking disruptors are active, the range of the hybrids will be drastically reduced, as well as the tracking, so my ship should be safe. And it was safe. The Daredevil got popped. I like the fact that I can easily kill frigates with the revelation now without worrying about missing the target. That was one of the main issues with the revelation that I had before when I used the stabber. If a frigate pops in, it does take a while until I nailed the right hit. Now it hits almost immediately, and that's a massive improvement over the stabber. 268 million, looks like a nice build, dual webs and a point, a PvP Daredevil, a kite Daredevil, also a very nice idea. Now on the next target we have a Executor 2. Now something tells me that this ship is a PvP logi, and I would say that they are using missiles. We are about to find out. Okay, let me go and web the logi with the Daredevil. Almost popped the ship in one hit. Well, they did try to boost shield. Unfortunately, I was a little bit too late for that. And now let me go and check out the wreck. I just have the feeling that this is a PvP logi, because, well, usually the Executor 2 is a PvP logi because it's a very good ship. Well, missile launchers, damage control, yes, this was 100% a PvP ship. Let me orbit the big boat to recover the capacitor. I can even leave the micro drive on because the capacitor is stable on the Daredevil with the revelation doing the capacitor transfer thing, which makes stacking targets even easier. $1 billion. Torpedo launchers, dual boosters, one medium, one large booster, dual scramblers. Looks nice. Interesting build, and some good loot, good drops. Overall, I'm quite happy with that build. Looks really nice. Better than some other builds that I have seen recently. Some very, let's put it lightly, cursed builds. That build was actually pretty good. Next we have another Astra, sending the Daredevil to stop the Astra from moving. Astra triple webbed, and the Astra has been destroyed. Always will hurt to watch that little ship explode, but you know, it's an Astra. They can carry some expensive stuff, and we like expensive stuff, so we shoot the Astra. Okay, let's take a look at the kill. 823 million. This was a PvP Astra, okay. Interesting. So wasn't a exploration ship, was a PvP ship. Probably a bait Astra. Well, the loot wasn't the best, but at the same time we got Sister of Eve ship debris, which, you know, is pretty good. And I'm not going to say no to Sister of Eve ship debris. Now, looks like we are getting jumped here. We have a bunch of battlecruisers popping in. I'm trying to go after the Prophecy first, spreading the disruptors on the Hurricanes. On the Prophecy, I will use the Guardian's Disruptor because I assume the Prophecy is running missiles. And a Drake popped in. Okay, well that's... I don't have a extra medium slot. The Prophecy burned away from the levels and they worked out. which means the prophecy escaped, which is fine. We have 3 more targets over here. Let me slap the disruptor on the Drake, and now every ship has one EVAR module on them, so all of the turrets on these ships and missile launchers should be crippled. There goes one Hurricane. Let's see who's the next webbed target. The Drake did take some damage on the shield, but my friend went after the Hurricane, so okay, I missed the Drake. I think I will go shoot the Hurricane because the Hurricane seems to be webbed. The Drake is burning out of the bubble and they are shooting at our bubble.
Fleet collecting fire.
Not really sure why I have Dragon Disruptors on a missile ship, but let's just ignore that for a second. I'm adding some stress on the pilots. Oh, and look at that, a Raven. Lovely. We got jumped by a bunch of battlecruisers and got jumped by a Raven. Okay, Drake yeeted. Let's yeet the Raven. The Raven already locking on. The tank of the interdictor holding really well. One of the tankiest interdictors that I've ever seen. The Raven is now into armor. I'm hitting at 78 kilometers, which is, you know, really good. And the Raven has been destroyed. That was fun. Haven't been jumped in a very long time, and not really sure what exactly happened, but there was just a bunch of battlecruisers popping in and they started to shoot, so I decided to shoot back. 467 million. Okay. Next, 159 million. Okay, next, 182 million. Rapid missiles. Okay, that explains why the shield went down very fast on the interdictor. And 920 million, the Raven, which was the best kill of this little encounter here. Now the Raven decided to go and take revenge. I forgot how to speak for a second. My apologies. Consequence of recording at 3 AM in the morning. One bomber has been yeeted. Next bomber has been yeeted. I find it funny that the Celestis pilot thought that the 2 dampeners would prevent me from locking. I mean, I just locked like 20 seconds longer and I just wiped their entire fleet over here, entire bomber fleet. Their primary target was our interdictor. However, like I said before, our interdictor is really tanky and the bombers couldn't break the tank of the bubble. Okay, let's not yeet my friends. Let's unlock. Okay, let's go after the cover tops. I thought that this might be Sino, so I got excited, but unfortunately things like that just don't happen over here. And well, the last hostile ship has been destroyed. You know, this was actually a hilarious encounter. They dropped a bunch of bombers and a Celestis to prevent me from locking them. I still locked them on. It's not going to do much, honestly. One Celestis is not a big deal. After all, well, this thing has a good sensor range. Sensor stat, whatever the thing is called right now. 98, the bombers were quite cheap. They did use a full-on DPS build. And even with the full DPS, they could not break the tank of a cruiser. Well, that was unexpected. I guess the previous fleet was a little bit salty that we wiped them. Well, we wiped them twice in a row. Okay, well, let's return the alt to the big boat, and next target we have a Nemesis, another bomber. Not like we wiped like 10 of them. I mean, not 10 of them, like 5 of them, but still. This is the 6th bomber for today. And the bomber has been yeeted. Nice. I like using this combination. It's honestly incredible how well this works. At first I thought to myself, well, am I actually going to make a cursed build? But then in the end, when you think about it, it actually does make sense. This was a pretty good kill, by the way. Unfortunately, the most expensive item did not drop. But you know me, I don't complain. Any loot is good loot. I'm here for the big explosions and I'm here for the fun. Next we have a Cyclone Guardian. Well, this is interesting. This is the time where I used the Stabber Tackle. I mean, the same build would work with the Stabber, however the Stabber is slower, and if it gets tackled, if it dies, it's not a big deal, so it's not really that worth to swap the builds for the Stabber. After all, it's a very cheap ship. But with the Daredevil, the build that I use is so far performing really well. It works exactly how I have imagined it. Now this Cyclone Guardian is a little bit tanky, as expected from a Guardian. They are taking hits like a champ, but unfortunately once the damage control ran out, the Revelation did do full damage. Was a pretty tanky ship, I'll say that. They did tank like a champion, and I feel like that was a pretty good build. Okay, now let me quickly loot that with the alt, and then I will return the Stabber around the orbit of the Revelation. 547 million, and like I said, is a pretty solid build. Tanky one, a very tanky one. Full on tank. Overall, I would say that that's a solid ship. That's a solid build. It did survive the Revelation for quite a while. Next, we have a Nereus too. Well, fingers crossed that this Nereus drops something nice. I mean, when I see a transport ship, and you all know that I like transport ships, I like to shoot them because they're like free loot basically. Currently, I'm waiting for one of them to drop like C-type turrets for some of the other capital ships that I will fly. And you know it will happen, just like I got the armor repairs. I will get the capital C-type turrets for some other ships, or who knows, perhaps I get B-types at one point. I would not be surprised. And if you're wondering how much ISK we made a lot of ISK. Now here you might be wondering, why am I not shooting? Well, I have decided to give the kill to my friend, because why not? And this Nereus is going to have a very bad day. Let me just apply some disruptors, just in case. Now I believe here something unexpected happened, and my friend actually disconnected, so the Nereus started to move towards the gate, and my alt currently not in the system, so looks like I will be forced to actually open fire. I don't want them to burn to the gate, and well, I guess I'll just destroy the Neros. My friend disconnected, the game crashed, and well, that was just bad luck. Oh well, let's take a look at the kill. 1.1 billion. This Neros did carry a lot of minerals, a lot of materials. Not really sure how much that is worth on the market. Now never click focus fire, because you will actually shoot at your own alt if you have this setup. And well, yes, I shot at my alt there. For I don't know how many times that happened, but yeah. Thankfully, a Daredevil is fast, so it's small and fast, very easy to miss. If that was a Vigilant, that ship would be dead. Wouldn't survive 5 minutes. On the first fight, I would have killed my own Vigilant. And I would be so mad, but I would be laughing because that would be the most hilarious loss that I would ever have. And you know it will happen one day. Because, well, because I just keep on shooting my alt by accident. Okay, that was another Neros. Let's go back to the orbit. Let's go back around this revelation, the chunk. 130 million. Okay, was an empty Neros, but still, a kill is a kill. I'm not complaining about that. Next target, let's not shoot my alt, let's shoot at the Battlecruiser. The alt is not going to go and web because I have a very nice position, so incoming ships are guaranteed to be destroyed. And I stop shooting. I'm going to give this kill to my friend. Okay, nice. The Battlecruiser has been destroyed. $334 million, and I like that almost everything dropped. That was a very nice loot drop. Next we have one Talos. Hero alt on the way, waiting for the alt to web, and then I will open fire. Webbed, disruptors on, and yeeted. Perfect. I'm also practicing this because if I want to swap the Daredevil into something a little bit more serious, I have to make sure that I don't kill that thing, because I don't want to blast my own ships. After all, I paid for them. The Daredevil is not that expensive, but at the same time, it's not that cheap. After all, it is a 250 million frigate, which for a frigate is quite expensive. Okay, back in the orbit of the big boat. That was a pretty decent catch. And the last target for today, we have another Battlecruiser. And the Battlecruiser has been destroyed. Well, honestly, I'm still trying to figure out what might be the optimal combination. Now, don't get me wrong, I really like this current setup. It works exactly as I imagined that it would work. The only thing that is a little bit, not really there is the range on the transmitters, but I believe with the large transmitters and with the unit I can fix that, so in the end it's really not a big problem. We'll probably run two transmitters. Why two transmitters? Well, one for the Daredevil, and perhaps the other one can be used for another ship in the fleet, especially if we encounter a Blood Raider ship. My goal is to be able to counter most of the ships, so tracking disruptors, guidance disruptors, and capacitor transmitters are basically key items, and they are going to keep the Daredevil afloat for as long as possible. And honestly, so far, as you could see in this video, this combination surprisingly works really well. So the only thing that is left for me to do here is to go and improve the build, perhaps change some items, change some units, and this is by far, I would say, one of the. It does still feel like one of the weirdest builds that I've ever done, but I like it, so we'll definitely keep you updated on the changes that I make. And with that being said, hope that you enjoyed. With that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.